So everybody, let's get into TWIG. All right, welcome to TWIG, your weekly geekly family-friendly news show that tackles everything from the MetaQuest 3 to bye-bye for Jim Ryan with some games in between. If you're listening on the podcast, be sure to give us a good review. Click that like on YouTube or come and listen live on Twitch every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Also, just saying, if we can get to 100 subscribers over on Spotify, specifically Spotify, I will bring in real Twigs to the studio. So the offer stands. If you want to see Twigs, finally, we'll live up to our promise of our intro, then we just need to make sure that we get those 100 Spotify followers. So if you do that for us, that would also be great. As you can tell, it's not just me. It's not a solo Twig tonight, but instead we have a special guest joining us. So we'll start off, as we always do, with our watch, play, read section, and I will let our special guest introduce themselves as well as tell us what they have been watching, playing, and reading. So take it away.
What's up? My name is Cameron. You can find me around the internet as Humar Whittle. I also stream over on twitch.tv/Cameron plus Deanna, where my wife and I play games. And then you can find me podcasting over on twitch.tv/OneGeek411. Nate, I got big news.
Okay.
It is Spider-Man month. I got my pin.
Sure is.
I got my hat on, and we are crazy hyped. So.
Yeah, it's a big time. It's a big time. There's a lot going on. There's so many games coming out. That was one of the things that I thought about putting as a segment of the show because there is so much. There's so much to be played. Yep. I'm personally hyped for Super Mario Wonder, but Spider-Man is on the list. My issue with the first Spider-Man, and we cannot talk about this anymore because it'll take forever, was that it was too long. But I'm curious to see if this one is equally as like just filled with story beat after story beat, or if it's a little bit more Miles Morales, because I thought Miles Morales was a much more well-paced
It struck
experience.
the balance much better.
Yeah. We'll see if they learn from that or if they lean in hard and they want to make another epic game of epic proportions. But who could say? All right, well, start us out. What are you watching? What are you playing? What are you reading? And in the chat, let us know as well. What are you watching, playing, and reading this week?
So I have beaten Final Fantasy 16. I'm wearing my shirt today. After much trials and tribulations, finally got through it. And then I also started playing Lies of P, the Pinocchio-based Soulsborne. And so been enjoying that. I'm about 5 hours into that. And then I have been reading A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I'm about like 2.5 hours into it. I'm doing the audiobook. It's not my favorite so far of her works that I've read, but I am enjoying it. And then just watched the other day Elemental by Pixar. And so I enjoyed it much more.
Daughter, and we enjoyed it. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it much more than I anticipated. I feel like it was not advertised well.
No, it was super weird the way it was advertised and kind of hidden under the surface. It reminded me of movies during COVID, like right after COVID, when theaters just started opening and they didn't want you to know that movies were coming out. That's what it reminded me of. And so I don't know why they didn't want to show this one off. I thought it was just fine. Maybe they're just really wanting people to check them out on Disney Plus when they release whatever, 90 days later or whatever the deal is. But yeah, very weird. I am curious. You played the demo for Lies of P, right?
I did, yes.
Okay. Are you like caught up, or was it just a completely random section? Did you start at the beginning?
Yeah, the demo is literally the beginning of the game.
Okay.
And so the demo is like, I don't know, the first 2-ish hours of the game, hour and a half. And so, and then, so yeah, I'm past that. I've beaten the second like big boss. So
very neat.
The demo is the first one.
I'm hearing that people really like it and that they're loving. Out of all of the many tributes that we get to the FromSoft experience, I keep hearing people say that this is a very good one, and that it did its job and understood the assignment, if you will, knew what it was supposed to bring.
Yeah.
And I'm probably not going to play it unless B-Surfer finally makes me play it on stream. It's not one I'm going to seek out on my own time, but I am very curious about it. It does look very pretty. It's a fun-looking game, and I'm interested in maybe watching somebody play it. That sounds more up my alley than anything.
If you do get it, though, you can play friends and foe, or friend or foe.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite checkpoint
lots of friend or foe moments in that one. And I have a feeling everything is a foe. Is everything a foe?
I have strangely found some friends, and it kind of confused me.
Very interesting. Like I said, let us know in the chat what you're watching, playing, and reading as well. I am watching Castlevania Nocturne. It will very likely be our nerdy sermon coming up here in the next couple weeks. Already enjoying it a whole bunch. Love that art style. Love the story. It's just all around good. I am playing Cyberpunk 2077 all over again, unfortunately. I love it
Suck back
so
in.
much. But it's just so much time. I'm about 21 hours in at this point into my second playthrough, and that is so many hours. I'm really enjoying Phantom Liberty, the new DLC. Idris Elba is a delight to see in video game worlds, and a big thumbs up to that experience all around. And then I'm also going to start, I haven't started it quite yet, but the Button Bash Brigade, our video game club here at Checkpoint, is starting a game called Our Life. Always in Beginnings. Is that right, Christina? I think that's right. Always in Beginnings, maybe. It's a visual novel, so I'll be starting that very soon. I've already got it downloaded. And I'm actually reading our book for our book club as well, which is Pines, which is the first in the Blake Crouch Wayward Pines series. So I'm curious about all these things. It feels like I'm ending a lot of games, movies, shows, books, and starting a bunch of new ones, which is always a fun experience to kind of get to come to the conclusion of something and then get to start a bunch of new stuff. So yeah, Beginnings and Always. All right, I think I swapped it around, Always and Beginnings or something. But yes, Our Life. It's a visual novel. I'm super curious about it. But with that, we could talk about the things we're watching, playing, and reading for a long time, but we got to move into some of the trending headlines for tonight. So take it away with our first one, Cameron.
The first one, after about 5 years, Sony PlayStation's boss, Jim Ryan, has announced his retirement and is ushering in a new era of leadership for the gaming giant. Jim Ryan took over SIE, Sony Interactive Entertainment, in 2019 and will be retiring in March 2024. The news broke by Jason Schreier on Twitter and was later confirmed by Sony. And then starting on April 1st, Haruko Totakoi, who's currently the president, CEO, and CFO of Sony Group Corporation, will take over as interim CEO. He has also become the chair of SIE the next month, collaborating with Sony Group Corporation's chairman and CEO, Kenichiro Yoshida, and to play in PlayStation's future. Ryan's retirement decision, it feels weird saying Ryan after the other names, but Ryan's retirement decision stems from the challenge of living in Europe while working in North America. And then during Ryan's leadership, the PlayStation 5 reached the milestone of 40 million units sold since launch in November 2020. And then Ryan's journey with PlayStation began in 1994 at its European branch.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating ride with Jim Ryan. It's been relatively short, and I think that everybody was pretty sure that he was going to step down with the whole PS5 debacle post-COVID anyway. So I think this isn't too surprising for anybody. He doesn't have the real staying power of a Phil Spencer or certainly anybody at Nintendo, but it's always interesting to hear about the kind of reshuffling of the corporate world whenever it comes to video games, because they're becoming so corporate, but you never really like think about it. I think the Nintendo gives off the like family vibe so much that it doesn't have the same impact. But
yeah, I think this is one of the things that's gone on for years, and then we as like fans have just not really thought about it till recently. Like I feel like with the advent of social media and it becoming such a big part of our lives, like we're just seeing this more and more, and these are always just like, yep, this is what's happened for decades for those larger studios, and we're kind of just now getting to get a taste of it, and it's in the public sphere way more. Otherwise, like what we would have like waited for an E3, and then they would have been like, oh, here's the new person.
Right.
But
yeah, it is. It's going to be fine. I don't think that there's anything too big about this other than just that it's interesting to see Jim Ryan stepping aside. But I'll be curious if we ever see any of the other giants actually step down or step into something different. That's when it'll really make news. But no big surprise, maybe a bigger surprise, the fact that Jim Ryan stayed in that position for as long as he did after the somewhat fiasco that PlayStation 5 experienced at launch. But do let us know if you have any thoughts about that. I do see Perspective says there, never trust Ryans. That is a famous quote by me in which I say that all the time. It's just the truth, and you got to watch out for those Ryans. All right, our next one is going to be about Netflix. Netflix says farewell to its 25-year-old DVD by mail service, closing an iconic chapter in entertainment history while looking ahead to a digital future. After 25 years of service, Netflix has shipped its final DVD rentals, marking the end of an iconic era. The service began in 1997 with Tim Burton's Beetlejuice being the inaugural disc mailed. Though the DVD rental service set the foundation for Netflix's success, the company had announced September 29th of 2023 as its official closing date for this segment. As a farewell gesture, customers were allowed to keep their last discs and could request up to 10 extra movies from the stock. Despite its initial success with a peak of 20 million subscribers in 2011, the revenue from the DVD by mail program saw a sharp decline in recent years, and that's because
I can't imagine
nobody
why.
watches DVDs.
It's like I'm shocked.
Yeah,
I tell you.
I love that they felt the need to mention the DVD by mail somehow. For some reason, inexplicably, it just lost interest in 2011. Yeah. Did you ever do any of the DVD by mail? I feel like I was too young for it.
So I don't think I ever got any. My family did, and I do remember like us getting DVDs, but I don't remember it ever being something that like, oh, can we order this one or anything like that?
Yeah, we had the local movie gallery that was a long holdout, and it didn't shut down until I pretty much went to college. And then once I went to college, it was like streaming everything. We cut the cord right away and didn't buy a DVD player ever again. I probably had my PS2 with me still, and so that maybe had the ability, but yeah, I can't say I'm too shocked. I liked the way that they did it a whole lot. I thought that they did a good job of saying goodbye, and I like Netflix's touch. I think that they do a good job with their marketing and their advertising, and they nailed kind of the way they said goodbye to their DVD business and the side of that. I'm right along with Perry there in the chat of like, I am kind of curious about the fact that Redbox has made it work. I don't know how they're still around.
Deanna and I were actually talking about that the other day because we drove past a Redbox. Like it seems crazy to me that that's
they're
still
in
happening.
Every Walmart that I see. I mean, every time I go to Walmart, there's a Redbox, and I don't know how and they've gotten new movies, tons of new movies. I don't know how they're doing it. Games,
props to them.
Lots of games. So maybe they're making it work, or maybe it's just kind of a lost game, and they'll eventually go the same way and announce their big closure. But it is very interesting to see that they're still maintaining some kind of sense of their Family Dollar keeping them in business. That they're at they're always at the Walmart in my neck of the woods, and sometimes I'll see them at a Dollar General. But it is curious. I don't know anybody that has a DVD player, like unironically. I don't know anybody that has a Blu-ray player, really, except for if they have a game system. That's the only way I know of anybody having a way to watch those things. I can't even get a disc drive. We had to burn a CD the other day, and I was like, how are we going to do this? Like, none of us have a disc drive. Who's going to burn a CD for us? And so we wound up going to the store and just finding an external CD drive, and that way we were able to make it work. But I can remember whenever those were like, yeah, of course you just have one and you do the business and get the CD burnt, and that's how you pass around we were just posting today over in the Discord about the Walkman thing that's coming back with the cassette players. And so everything has a cycle to it, and maybe eventually we'll cycle back to the DVD or the DVD collection. I did like that they let people keep the DVDs, the final ones. That was a nice touch.
I mean, that definitely has the feeling of, hey, this financially isn't worth us to keep this stock for obvious reasons. Please take it from us. Like, we don't want to keep the warehouse open. So.
Right. Yeah. So they finally called it quits to the iconic era. Do drop your F's in the chat for good old DVDs and Netflix that got them started. Let's go into our next story about Nintendo, another potential end of an era, but a promise that it's not quite here yet. Even as the next-gen Nintendo console, the Nintendo Switch 2 looms, Switch owners rejoice. New games are going to keep coming your way until at least 2025. Nintendo is gearing up for its next-generation console launch in 2024. However, Nintendo President Shintaro Furukawa stated in an interview with Japanese publication Nikkei that they will continue supporting the Nintendo Switch by releasing games for it until the end of March 2025. The immediate focus for Nintendo is the success of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Upcoming games for the Switch include Detective Pikachu Returns, I think like today or tomorrow. We'll find out in upcoming games. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, WarioWare Move It, and several others like Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door HD and Princess Peach Showtime in 2024. Although Nintendo's next-gen console is expected to have a portable functionality similar to the Switch, questions about backwards compatibility still remain mostly unanswered, with some speculation here and there. Despite the decrease in Switch sales over recent years, course, Nintendo remains committed to its goals for the console. Yeah, I agree with Perry. It is a very decent spread for new releases, and the Switch has been a very impressive powerhouse and lasting.
Yep. I mean, it's crazy to think how, like, where Nintendo was at with the Wii U and how they just iterated on what they wanted that design to be and created arguably one of the best handheld console things that's ever existed.
Without a doubt. And even as much as I love my Steam Deck, there's still something special about the Switch and about the games that it has and how conducive they are to the experience. I held off on getting a Switch just because I was in college and I was a broke college student. But whenever I finally got out of college and was able to afford a Switch, it was like 2019 roughly that I was actually able to get a Switch. And I just binged through that backlog and loved every single one of those games. 2020 happened with the phenomenon that was Animal Crossing. And we kept getting more and more and more goodness. So it is intriguing to see the complete turnaround that they had, especially from the Wii U, which I did not own until way after its life cycle, and even then have played it once or twice, but it's curious. Let's see. Yeah. Perry says, almost a decade for the game console. Switch and Wii are glorious systems and very much pivotal. Yeah, I would agree. I would say the GameCube was pretty pivotal too. I think that one might be a little bit more controversial, but it definitely had good games on it.
I mean, I would say GameCube is very much overshined by PS2, but in terms of like cultural impact, but Switch and Wii are like insane.
Yeah. If there was a winner, I didn't. But Wii's, I mean, they're still making Just Dance for Wii for nursing homes and stuff. So it's never going to die. And I wonder if we'll see the same phenomenon with Switch where it will just continue to pervade. I think it totally depends on if they make another handheld. If they make another handheld and they do the backwards compatibility, then we'll see a shift. But I wonder how many people will just keep their Switches and keep going with them, especially if they're promising until 2025. That's at least 2 more years of pretty good games to keep coming to the system.
Yep. You mentioned Super Mario Bros. Wonder earlier. Is there anything else of these announced games that you're excited for the Switch?
Yeah, I'm hyped. I'm hyped for Princess Peach Showtime. I think it looked super fun. And then not a first-party Nintendo game, but I wish I could remember the name. I can see the picture of the girl with white hair. It's like an anime style. And they were games that came out for the DS. Oh, it's going to bug me until I remember. But it's like Code or something. They are mystery games that came out for the DS that I never got. Another Code sounds familiar. And there were 2 games, one that never got released in the West, and the other one was for the DS that I just never was able to find. And I'm super excited to get to play both of those for the first time. And I love those mystery games. I love the Danganronpa style games, and I'm anticipating that pretty highly. I doubt I'll play Thousand Year Door again just because it's Thousand Year Door and I know it. But I definitely plan on playing Super Mario RPG, which I missed, and getting into that. Windows notification sound. Yes, indeed. I got a message from somebody. So how about yourself? Any of those stand out?
Yeah, so Princess Peach Showtime is the one that was missing from the show notes that I made sure to add in. I'm very excited for that. I'm excited for Peach to finally be getting her own game. Sure seems like it should have happened earlier, but here we are. And so that game looks really cool. I'm excited. I loved what they showed off for it. Super Mario Wonder, I mean, most mid-take. I think that game's going to be great. Like, I'm excited for it. I wish it wasn't coming out the same time as Spider-Man, but then again, I don't think there's going to be much competition between the two. So I think people know which one they're going to buy, and if they're not going to do both. But then, and then for Thousand Year Door, I never played the OG Paper Mario, so I'm interested in it. I don't know if it's a game that I will get to anytime soon, but I'm definitely interested in it.
Yeah, you would love it. I have a feeling you would super enjoy it. It's probably the best of the Paper Mario series, but I don't know. Paper Mario is just also a pretty good line. But that's definitely, I think that's uncontroversially probably the favorite and the one that most people pick. Yeah, A Shadow of SMRPG is definitely an echo of it. I don't know about Shadow, but it's something that was very much inspired. And I think it was the one that took the most of the heart of RPG compared to the rest of them, which kind of became their own thing. But especially the Princess Peach storyline in Thousand Year Door felt very much like an RPG thing that they would have done. So it's a curious time. I think it's a great time to be a Nintendo fan. I think we got a ton to look forward to in the next year, and that's only what they've announced so far. So I got plenty of games that I've already got on my docket, and my favorite part, as always, is that they're all going to be on the Switch, and I can play them on the go and as I have time to play them. And yeah, let us know in the comments what might be your favorite of the list or what you might be excited for about a Switch 2. Or if you're just excited in general to finally get some news about the Switch 2 because we're all kind of just holding on, waiting for it. With that, we're going to get into our next one.
So I have a question for you, Nate.
Go ahead.
Is The Flash part of the DCU?
I have no idea. Has James Gunn made an official statement?
So what about Blue Beetle?
I think he said it was like a maybe. I feel like there was at one point an interview that James Gunn was like, if it does well, maybe. Which is such a bad answer, but it's such a James Gunn like non-take.
Yeah, so marketing in general for what's real and what isn't has been very confusing. With I think statements around like Blue Beetle as like this is the introduction to the first DCU character, but whether or not the movie is canon, like who knows what that means, like who knows what's happening with the Flash, and the line between the DCEU and the DCU continues to blur as James Gunn confirms that Peacemaker season 2 is being worked on. And he has also clarified that this upcoming project will be part of the DCU, even though the first season appears to be non-canonical within the universe. Season 1 of Peacemaker was aligned with the DCEU, a universe started with Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, and concluding with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Maybe concluding, who knows when it ends. Maybe the DCEU goes on forever. While the new DCU will begin with Creature Commandos and Superman Legacy. Peacemaker Season 2's placement in the universe was initially ambiguous. Gunn had suggested that fans should be comfortable with some confusion regarding DCU plans since the new universe has not been fully unveiled yet. The first season of Peacemaker received positive reviews, with IGN giving it a 9 out of 10. If I know anything about fans, it's that they love confusion. So
I love that he said that too. He really is an unstoppable and unpredictable force where he's just like, yeah, you don't know and you should be okay with that too.
Yeah.
Is such a weird take. I think he does not care about building any bridges with the fans, and that doesn't line up well for superhero fans. We'll see how they kind of roll with the punches. I maintain my stance that I will watch anything that has a superhero in it. I don't care how good or bad the movie is. If it got a superhero, I'm going to watch it because I just love that we live in this world where we get to watch superheroes on the silver screen, where I get to see animes adapted into live action. I will watch all of them no matter how bad they are. And that is the same case with the DCEU and the DCU. I've watched every single one of them. Some of them I've enjoyed, some of them I haven't, but I've always enjoyed seeing the characters on the screen. So I'll keep, eating the dog food as long as he keeps feeding it to me. But it sure doesn't seem like he's trying to be too hungry for real connection with the fans or with the fan base. And what
I mean, I do think part of this also is that he can't be like, guys, these are not canon, don't worry. When like you still need to make back the investment. Like it's like the kind of like the studio PR answer of like, who knows? Please go to the theater. Like
I'm kind of with both.
He's got to get that check. So
maybe it's just time to stop with the cinematic universe and just make movies, and just get past the whole canon thing and non-canon and just tell stories. I think that's what DC does best, is make good villains and tell good stories, and that's why I watch their animated universes. And so it's like just do that. Just keep doing that and run with the punches. The shows were great, and I think they were great. I enjoyed the first 2 seasons of almost all of them. Maybe Supergirl just the first season, but pretty much all of them, the first 2 seasons, were some of my favorite. Definitely Arrow. I was a big Arrow fanboy.
Beginning of Arrow was very good. My favorite part of the Flash was when he runs faster than he did to solve the last problem. Although maybe that's just an issue with the character and not with the show.
The Run Barry Run slogan only worked, like I said, 2 seasons. Yeah. Once they just kept recycling the villain. I think whenever I learned that the villains in the 3rd season was just going to be another speedster, I was like, Barry does have more villains. Like, I understand that we're pulling from some of the speedsters because it's fun, but there are more villains in that universe that they could pull from, and they just didn't and never did. And it was just always more Tom Cavanaugh. And love Tom Cavanaugh. Big fan. We had enough. We had enough of him. So, yeah, I think that the DC stories on TV worked. whether they were good or bad, they like worked, and then they just kept going and going and going and burn a lot of people out. But at the same time, like probably maintained an audience and a healthy sense of fiscal responsibility. Whereas the movies just keep plummeting and just aren't managing to find their niche or audience or do the due diligence that they need to maintain a healthy relationship with fans. Way more interesting when he had to find new ways to use his powers against different metahumans with different powers. Yeah, and that's what Legends eventually kind of wound up being, was a Monster of the Week situation where they could explore the possibilities of metahuman powers, both in the villains and in the cast. And I agree. I think Legends was just fine as well. It got a little goofy, and they leaned into the goofiness, and that was just fine for that show. But we could use some more bold takes. I really don't need another Suicide Squad movie, so I'm really hoping that doesn't happen. I'm a little bummed. I did not watch Peacemaker season 1. I'm kind of curious because it got a 9 out of 10 on IGN, and I'm like, maybe I should go back and watch Peacemaker.
Yep. I never saw it either. I know a lot of people very much loved it. Like the general sentiment was that it was extremely good.
Yeah, it came across to me as the very like ironic, like The Boys mentality kind of show. And I really enjoyed The Boys comic, but The Boys show was almost a little bit too nihilistic for me. And I wonder if Peacemaker would be the same situation, or if it's a little bit better. I'm curious. I'm curious now that I've seen that it's doing so well, and now that we're getting a second season, and apparently I need to know about it if I'm going to keep up with the DC canon, which I'm not.
Or do you?
Yeah, because who could even say at this point? It is weird choices, bold choices, I suppose. Could be a little bolder for me, or at least a little bit more definitive. Might be a good direction for DC to take. My bet is that maybe by 2025, when we see the Switch 2, we'll also see a new head over DC Studios. And James Gunn will have inevitably stepped down.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll just actually know what's DCEU by then. Yes, hopefully. We'll understand what's the canon.
Yes, Lord willing, by then we've got something figured out. Okay, next up, we've got Blumhouse. Speaking of some series that are finding their legs, Blumhouse of Jason Blum and Blumhouse Movies is making Blumhouse Games. And it is taking a fresh plunge in the gaming world, aiming to bring original, low-budget content to the forefront, much like their film strategy. Blumhouse Games, the interactive arm of Blumhouse, a renowned film and TV production company, is venturing into the gaming arena with an emphasis on original content over adapting existing intellectual property. In a conversation with the founder and CEO, he emphasized the strategy to focus on unique, low-budget game projects, much like their approach to films. Although the possibility of games based on their films isn't ruled out in the future, their immediate plan does not include adaptations. Instead, a successful game could potentially be turned into a movie. Founded in 2000, Blumhouse is known for its high-grossing, low-budget horror films like The Purge, Get Out, and Paranormal Activity. So it's like Annapurna, but in reverse, indeed. So Annapurna is now making shows, and Blumhouse is now making games and doing little switches and swatches here and there. Yeah, I'm curious about this. I like their movies, and I think it could be a cool new avenue.
I'm really curious, like, define low budget to me. Like, that's something that I'm very interested in what that's practically going to mean. Like, is this like essentially indie? Like are we talking like small studio? Like I'm that term I think confuses me. Yeah. Just because it's so ambiguous. Like, and I'm very curious to how it'll translate.
Low budget. Like, I think that I would not consider Get Out a low budget film. Maybe it was. I couldn't say, but I think that is a weird term to slap onto some of their things. Like, I wouldn't say they're as big a deal as just anybody, but I would say it kind of reminds me of A24 film level. Like, I think they're very similar levels, but maybe their budgets are completely off and my brain is just not braining. But it is weird to translate games to movies and to figure out how to make those two things work. I'm hopeful that we see them tapping on the shoulders of a lot of the really good indie horror game developers out there. I hope they don't partner up with like Five Nights at Freddy's or something, because I know they're making the FNAF movie, and that's fine and well and good, but like, that's a production company. That's an entity that has books for sale. Like, they're doing just fine. Like, I would love to see, I know the Game Grumps made a horror game this year, and like, I would love to see them partner up together. How cool would that be to see like them producing a Game Grumps game? That would be a neat combination of two entities online, or anybody. Just, I want to see more actual like indie producers that have done good work getting picked up by hopefully what is a money house at this point. But yeah, I'm curious, very curious to see what they do. I'm a little bit disappointed to hear that they aren't focusing on movie adaptations to games, just because I think they have some that would be a lot of fun. And at the very least would be fun to give to like an aspiring young dev and say like, we're not going to tell you what to do, but you've got this like IP, go and have fun in this universe. That would be super interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because I think that even the three that they mentioned, The Purge, Get Out, and Paranormal Activity, maybe not Get Out as much, but The Purge and Paranormal Activity would be super fun universes to play within. And I think that somebody that's not just like trying to make a buck, but instead trying to make a game could do something really fun with those IPs. And I think we need more horror games. So I'm a fan of this idea all in all. And I hope that we see some more good work out of this. It is curious to see the blending of the two universes of movies and games, because I think movie producers know that games are where it's at and games are where the people are, and it's working. So with that, let us know if you have any other thoughts in the chat section about this news or about Blumhouse games. We're going to move on to a recap of the MetaQuest Connect recap. MetaQuest 3 was announced. They're proclaiming that it is not just a VR headset, but instead it's working more on mixed reality capabilities with the three little circles there that have a good pass through. It is equipped with cameras for content interaction in the real world, including previewing furniture using 2 color sensors and a depth sensor this time. It is going to be supporting Xbox Cloud streaming, which is a big deal in my opinion. I think that's a huge step. Powered by Snapdragon XR2 Gen 2, enabling more VR games to run natively. Their price point, I think, is sweet, $500, and it is launching a week from today, October 10th. They also announced Emu, a AI for social media through Facebook and Instagram, an initiative to integrate AI models into Facebook and Insta. It enables AI-driven image creation, photo manipulation, and custom sticker generation. Provides a platform for developers to craft AI models for Meta's vast user base, and it also introduced a Meta AI chatbot comprising various specialized chatbots represented by celebrities. That is a part we could get into if we really wanted to, but that is the weirdest part of all of it. If you have not gone and checked out their list of celebrities and the weird names and identities that they've given them, if you're in for a good laugh, go look all those up. And then they also announced Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses. New styles were introduced in that line, as well as a built-in Meta AI that they're introducing. It allows users to ask questions, receive real-time answers from those AI into the answers that are going to be projected into the glasses. Inbuilt cameras facilitate various tasks, such as translating signs or offering advice on fixing issues with a leaky faucet. Features live streaming capabilities directly from the glasses, and it is priced, I think, again, pretty fairly at $300, available 2 weeks from today, October 17th. Now, I haven't tried out anything from Ray-Ban that Meta has done previously. I know they did the like Snapchat glasses. I think that was Ray-Ban, but I'm curious to see.
I like that they're basically just the Google glasses.
Yeah,
like
it's Google Glass, but hopefully it'll work a little better.
Yeah, hopefully I'm sure we'll not have the exact same issues as Google Glass did. There's no way of seeing that coming. I in seriousness, I do like the idea of the Ray-Ban, the smart glasses. I think that that's something that I have no intention of getting. I don't overly have like a personal interest in, but I'm curious to like what that could do. Like if we're thinking of this as like Gen 2 tech, I'm really interested in what like Gen 10 could be. Kind of the same idea of like initial phones where you had like phones like that were part of your car, and then you had like the satellite phones, and then eventually we got to smartphones. Like I'm kind of curious to what the glasses are going to be. And then for the MetaQuest itself, I'm pretty interested in what this mixed reality stuff is going to look like. I think that that's something that there was a lot of promise for that when VR was taking off, and we never really saw it executed because it turns out it's very difficult. But there's a lot of like game applications and stuff like that that you can use to pull in, where instead of like going to something that I'm a big fan of like tabletop RPGs, of like playing D&D, but you can physically be looking down and in mixed reality be moving the pieces around on the board, and kind of having the ability to do that crossover capabilities would be very cool. So that definitely interests me. I don't know if we'll get to that point, but I like that side of things. And then you mentioned the Xbox Cloud streaming. I think that that's super cool. The thing that I think the MetaQuest does best is the ability to play games natively through the device. And so being able to put in a vast array of games bolstered by cloud streaming is a fantastic way of helping people, even for people that use the VR headset as essentially just like a big TV screen. Like play with, they don't necessarily use the controllers or don't necessarily use it in person, but I think that that's something that has a huge benefit.
My thing will be comfort. And
Yep.
I think that was my big issue with the Quest 2 is like, I have one, it's the bulkiest thing ever, and I can wear it for about an hour. And I just can't deal with it for much longer than that. Whereas I just got those Vitcher glasses, and I'm able to wear those gaming for hours at a time. And so they look just like a pair of glasses, only they sit a little bit up on your face because there's like a literal screen before you. And it just looks like a huge TV screen. And the reason I got it was so that I didn't have gamer neck looking down at things. And I've super enjoyed it. It's too expensive though. So it does exactly what I want. It's the perfect weight, the perfect size, perfect shape. Everything is good about it, but it's too expensive. It's more expensive than the MetaQuest 3 here, at least once you get all the accessories and stuff thrown in. So I think that's what the Quest 3 has going for it for me. If it's able to be the right weight, then it could be a real game changer. But I think that the Xbox cloud streaming, I'm not worried about speed on the MetaQuest. They're just fine as far as like what's powering it. I think that $500 is a fair price point, especially whenever Apple is doing their like $3,000 price point. Like it made it very clear that these are two different universes for people. Couldn't care less about the AI. I think that everybody has an AI now, and that was the least exciting part. And then, like you said, Ray-Ban, I'll probably give them a shot, but I'm also equally skeptical. What I want is I want to live in Sword Art Online, and I want to be able to see like things come up through my glasses. And so I'm intrigued by the possibility of the active translation. Like I think that's pretty neat.
Yep.
But time will tell how each of those go. But do let us know in the chat what you think about any of those. We gotta book it because we are running long, but we're just having such good conversations. So we're gonna go into everybody's favorite segment of the show, Cryptic Critiques. That is right. It is time for Cryptic Critiques. So this is a little game that we play here on the show where I'm going to give 3 actual bad reviews for critically acclaimed video games. And I am going to give our guest Cameron a chance to guess those. But I would encourage you to be thinking of your answer, whether you're watching this on TikTok or whether you're in the comment section or on YouTube, wherever you might be. Think about your answer. Think if you can figure out what this is. And then we will see if Cameron gets it for this one. So the first clue, this is a real 1-star review that was given to this critically acclaimed game, was basically a $60 demo for its sequel. The second review, a series whose enduring charm lay in its relentless juvenilia, decides to do what 2010's design trends considered growing up, about as convincing as 3 kids stacked in a trench coat. I had to put it out just because I love that review so much. Oh, it's so good. First off, the fact that they say juvenilia, which is like, I've never read that word.
Yeah.
And second off, that they then use the 3 kids in trench coat meme. It's so good. Okay, so those are the first 2 hints. Be thinking in your head. See if you've got it already in the chat. Our final one, the one that should give it away, but maybe not, is we should ban dads from making games. No more dads. Abolish dad games. With those 3 hints, Cameron, do you think you got it?
I honestly feel like the more clues you read, the less I understood.
Oh no.
And so like my initial take was that this was a sports game because every sports game is just a demo for the next one.
But the sequel totally makes sense.
I didn't think you would pick that. And so my thought went to like Super Mario Galaxy of like a $60 game that's very beloved, has a great sequel. But then like the comments of it being considered growing up like really confused me, like the 3 kids in the trench coat. And yeah, we should ban dads from making games. Like, I mean, you made it sound like that should give it away, and I have absolutely no clue what that's about. So I'm sure it'll be like painfully obvious once you say what it is, but like, yeah, I feel like I had an idea with the first one and then completely lost it from there.
By the third, it was totally gone. Yeah, if you're going to be pinching yourself when we do the grand reveal, anybody in the chat have a guess out there? Is this Resident Evil?
Resident Evil?
It is not. All right, we're going to do the grand reveal in 3, 2, 1. God of War, the reboot of God of War.
Oh.
Whenever he became a dad. And apparently some reviewers found it unconvincing, to say the
Yeah,
least.
so like,
That
okay.
he's not a believable father.
So like for me, that doesn't make sense with the second clue.
Yeah. I think they
Like,
meant maybe growing up for Atreus is like, or maybe God of War. Maybe it was Kratos growing out of his like childish violence into the adulthood that he was supposed to be, the mentor figure.
yeah, because like I would say this is like the inverse of the 2010s. Everyone's got to be a mature kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, that. Yeah. Again, I don't think I would have ever gotten there.
Well, I thought that with the dad, it might give it away.
Yeah.
But
Well,
the other stuff
and
definitely
again,
was tricky.
yeah, it's them all together. Like I feel like that's what threw me off. Like,
very nice. Very nice. Well, that has been Cryptic Critiques. Thank you for playing along. If you got it in the chat, let us know. If you got it on TikTok, drop in the comments and tell me that you got this one, even with those. Remember, these are 1-star reviews, not necessarily good reviews.
correct.
They may be very bad and inaccurate reviews, but there are people that thought this game deserved 1 star. And so somebody that gave the first God of War 1 star probably has a bad take. All right, we're going to get into another segment of the show. That's right. This is To the Discord. If you'd like to submit news, you can utilize our Discord, ask questions, get answers. Every Monday, I drop a question forum and ask for what news we should talk about, or you can submit your news to bit.ly/DearTwig. We're going to get into our first one. Take it away.
So after 5 months, the Hollywood writers' strike has ended with almost becoming the longest Writers Guild strike in history. A tentative deal with the Hollywood studios was agreed upon and received unanimous approval from the necessary boards. The writers have returned to work during this ratification process. However, the SAG-AFTRA, Screen Actors Guild of American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, is still on strike, which stalls overall production. Key negotiations points for the writers included transparency with stream and viewership, restrictions on the use of AI in the writing process, and pay increments. The new agreement, if ratified, would be valid through May 1st, 2026. And while this is going on, SAG-AFTRA has also authorized a strike against video games, which I believe is targeted at 10 studios. And so I'm very excited for the writers. As of pretty much today, I believe, or I guess last night, we saw the late night shows return. And so a lot of them had gone on strike in solidarity with the writers. And so very excited that we're seeing writers to get to come back and to create and to do the job that they want to do. And they want to be paid fairly and compensated appropriately for.
Yeah, I thought this was encouraging as well. I've kept up with Adam Ruins Everything throughout pretty much all of it, who's been a really good guy covering it and leading the march and kind of making sure that everything was transparent for the viewers back home. And I think that this is good to follow up on the SAG-AFTRA video game strike. It's kind of just an option on the table. It's not something they have to do. And so it's like, if they want to, then they can, but it's not necessarily going to happen. So I kind of kept that one like the tail end of like a to be continued question mark. Like we might hear more about that, or it might just fizzle whenever SAG-AFTRA, hopefully, inevitably also comes to some sort of agreement throughout this process. I'm hopeful that that's kind of how it goes. One person has made a decision, and now the next, it should be a logical shoe-in to just continue with the strikers going forward.
And while I by no means am an expert in this, it is worth calling out that I do believe the writers got everything they wanted.
Yeah.
Like, we had this huge stall for the writers to get the at least the key negotiation points that they wanted. And so shout out to the people that were doing those negotiations for them. And I would honestly suspect something pretty similar for SAG at this point. So
yeah, I would anticipate that as well. It is indeed not just a knockout, it's a TKO situation. They won, and by spades, and it's an exciting landmark, hopefully, forward in the world of AI as it continues to move way too quickly for all of us. But we'll continue working through that. For those that are curious about the Strike Force 5 podcast that we talked about with Sneaky a couple weeks ago, and if it will continue, it is going to continue a little bit longer. They have a couple more episodes apparently in the can until they get back into it. So if you've been enjoying that podcast, I'm hoping to have Conan on it before it's over and said and done, but who knows? Maybe he hasn't kept up with them as well, but I'm hopeful to see that episode, if nothing else. With that, we're going to get into our next one. Another one from Perry. Net neutrality rules are poised for a comeback, ensuring fair internet access, but with added measures to address national security concerns. The FCC plans to reinstate Obama-era net neutrality rules, which were rolled back during the Trump administration. Originally implemented in 2015, these rules prevented internet service providers such as AT&T, Comcast, and Verizon from blocking, slowing down websites, or charging more for faster access. The FCC intends to once again classify internet providers as common carriers under Title II of the Telecommunications Act. While the proposal is similar to the 2015 regulations, it now includes a provision that allows the FCC to block websites controlled by foreign adversaries, citing national security reasons. FCC Chairwoman Jessica Rosenworcel has called for an initial vote on October 19th, but full restoration of net neutrality will take time due to subsequent necessary steps. Some of you will recall us having these conversations around net neutrality, but it's not really been a thing that I've certainly noticed too much of a shift of. If it was on such a corporate level that I didn't even notice, but it was certainly something that was very much talked about. And I'm glad, just on paper, for the rollbacks and for putting back in place what will hopefully work better.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of insight here to say, or insightful things to say. But yeah, I think the more that we can have a open and fair access around the internet, the better. I think that it makes sense for there to be some sort of regulations, but I do think that in general, like, this is something that we need. Otherwise, it just becomes a pay to play, and that's not how the internet should be.
Yeah, it's very interesting stuff. I'm curious to hear if everything goes through without a hitch. There is certainly a lot hitching in the White House right now, White House area, and in Washington, D.C. So we'll see if this also gets caught up in the various hitches. But for now, this seems like an all-around thumbs up and a pretty good thing. As far as the foreign adversaries, my mind immediately went to TikTok.
That's what I was thinking as well.
What they actually were talking about, or if they meant something more nefarious. But my brain just can't keep going there because we had so many issues with that last year. So maybe that has something to do with it, but time will tell as we go forward with that. With that, we're going to go into a big three. This is 3 articles jam-packed into one because there's so much that has happened with this particular company over the past week. Perry dropped one article, and it was with a frowny face. So I'm assuming that it was all the bad things that this company has done, but they also did one thing that was pretty good. So we're going to talk about Epic Games. Epic Games, amidst V-Bucks, price hikes, and significant workforce reductions, Epic Games reaffirms its commitment to player safety by introducing age ratings in Fortnite, showcasing the challenges and responsibilities of a major gaming company. So the first thing is the Fortnite V-Bucks price hike. This is what started it all. V-Bucks, the in-game currency of Fortnite, is set to experience a price increase ranging from 12 to 15% in countries such as the US, Czech Republic, Denmark, and others. This adjustment is driven by economic factors like inflation and currency fluctuations. Price specifics for the US include 1,000 V-Bucks rising from $7.99 to $8.99 and 13.5 V-Bucks shooting up from $79.99 to $89.99. The price increase aligns with similar past increases in countries like the UK, Canada, and Mexico. So that was where it all started. And then we heard about something else, major layoffs and economic challenges. Epic Games has announced it's laying off 830 employees, constituting about 16% of its entire workforce. The action is largely due to financial sustainability challenges, as mentioned in a memo by CEO Tim Sweeney. The company has also been divesting or spinning off certain acquisitions, such as Bandcamp, which I learned today they owned, and Super Awesome, which I don't know what Super Awesome is. Despite Fortnite's previous financial successes, generating $9 billion within 2 years of 2021, the game's growth now relies more on creator content, which has a different revenue sharing structure and lower margins. And then the final thing is the good thing, maybe to save face a little bit after doing 2 pretty downer announcements. Epic Games announced they were emphasizing player safety, especially younger demographic, and they are rolling out age ratings for all Fortnite experiences from November 14th onward. The age rating system will encompass all content in Fortnite with a specific focus on creations from Fortnite's creative mode. This initiative is part of a collaboration with the International Age Rating Coalition, the IARC, a body that includes important rating boards like the ESRB or the Entertainment Software Rating Board. Creators will be tasked with filling out an IARC questionnaire when they wish to publish content. Once completed, an age-based rating is assigned, which is region-specific and can be adjusted by local rating boards if needed. In the midst of these significant shifts, Epic Games is attempting to balance the economic requirements of running a major gaming company with the necessity to provide a safe and enjoyable experience for its vast player base. So that is ChatGPT's unbiased response, but it does seem to me like this is a bit more nuanced than just trying their best for economic stability. So what are your thoughts before we break these down any further?
Yeah. So, I mean, first off, thoughts and prayers, like for those that were laid off. 830 employees is an insane amount, say about 16% of the workforce. And so hope those people are able to find work and find a place to be, that they can continue to make the kind of art that they were making. And I think that this is, we've had a big stream of layoffs coming lately, and it really seems like this is something that higher ups need to be conscious of. Like, we're having a big consolidation in the gaming industry right now. We're having Microsoft purchase Activision as an example. And as the industry consolidates, it just means it's more and more likely that if something goes bad in one portion of the business, another portion of that business is going to be negatively impacted. And we're going to be seeing this type of thing affect more and more. Like, there's already been the meme, to jump over to the Activision example, of them buying a studio and then just having them work on Call of Duty. And so then what happens once that stops doing well? Well, the people in this other studio get laid off. And so I really hope that this is something that, as higher ups are trying to decide what purchases to make, that we start to see more and more responsibility from higher ups. I don't know Tim Sweeney. I probably couldn't pick him out of a crowd by any means, but like, it really feels like these were decisions that should have been handled differently going into this, with however it was that you were going to purchase things. And Epic has done a lot right recently, and so pretty upset to hear them kind of touting how they're creator first and all of that, and then knowing that all of this information was going on in the back end, that is going to lead to them laying off this huge portion of their workforce.
Yeah, it's a weird tension of a lot of different moving parts. And Epic has long been kind of this weird, like, ominous third party that people are like really wary to trust. But at the same time, they've chiseled out a place for themselves in the gaming sphere with the behemoth that is Fortnite. And then they're constantly giving out free games and trying to get people to use their Epic Game Store as a launcher, which I still do not. I don't think that it can compete for me for Steam just because of the prevalence. And then, of course, Unreal. Yeah, that's a good point, Perry. And so they really are just kind of a behemoth. I'm so skeptical and cynical about all things in the gaming industry, and I always wonder if there's like a correlation of like, hey, Unity sure did make a big whoopsie last week. Maybe now's a good time we do the employee firing thing, because it won't make us look that bad from Unity's perspective after they messed up so big. And I think that there's so many weird decisions that we have to figure out along the way, and who we're going to trust and who we're going to support. I think that Epic Games is not going anywhere, even with this huge loss of the workforce, which is terrible. I think that they're still going to remain a entity for definitely the time going forward. So I don't think we're going to see them go anywhere in particular. And I think Fortnite's going to remain the thing that it is. I'm curious to see what Fortnite does next and what they do with their next season, and if they're able to maintain that same energy or if they swap things around. I mean, I can remember whenever Fortnite was doing something new all the time with concerts and stuff going on, but it seems like they have slowed down a little bit, and I'm certainly seeing less of it through the content creator house. Ninja was really the peak, right, of that. Mm-hmm. So I think that as Ninja has stepped away and other creators have stepped away or stepped into other things, it's a weird adjustment period. And that's not to play like defense for Epic by any means, but just to say that things can't last forever. And at the end of the day, we have to support as many people as we can, as many people that can work as possible. And so taking people away from their jobs, and especially so unexpectedly decimating the workforce like this, it's just not right. And something's got to change, but there's nothing we can really do in our place other than call it as we see it and hope for better things ahead. Try to support the industries that we can. I will continue supporting my small studios and buying things for them and getting all their games direct and making sure to maintain a healthy relationship in those avenues. Rock on indie games. But we'll see. We'll see what's next for Epic and if this is kind of where their announcements die down. I feel like they do that. I feel like they announce everything and then they're just like quiet for a while. So we'll probably not hear anything from Tim Sweeney in the near future. But yeah. Curious, let us know if you have any more thoughts in the comment section or anything about these news articles in particular. I am excited. We didn't talk a whole lot about the player safety thing. I love to see people doing more intentionality about transparency with younger and more vulnerable people in a gaming space. So that is a good thing. And amidst the bad, it does not excuse the bad, but it is a good thing to see more people doing, and I would love to see more games take better initiatives than just the ESRB. Not saying there's anything wrong with the ESRB, but finding better ways to make sure that we're transparent about the information and the content that is contained with the games is a huge step forward. With that, we're going to go into not everybody's favorite segment of the show, but a good one.
At this point in nerd history.
It is at this point in nerd history. This is where we go through everything that was released on this exact day throughout time and space. So October 3rd throughout time and space, what games were released, Cameron?
We had the release of Stranger Things the game in 2017. We had the release of the amazing Dragon Age Origins in 2012. We had Wii Party in 2010, Nintendo Club in 2008, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness in 2005, Lego Bionicle GBA in 2001, The Age of Empires demo in 1997, and in 1989, Prince of Persia for the Apple II.
Yeah, there were some super interesting ones in there. I've never played Dragon Age Origins, and it's been one that's been recommended to me eternally. So I will eventually play that. But I thought it was neat that Club Nintendo, like the thing that we now know of as like where you get your points or whatever, where you sign in to your Nintendo account, only started back in 2008. They really started their like loyalty program. And I will not lie. I included Lego Bionicle Game Boy, particularly for Bweesh. Like that was there for Bweesh. So Bweesh, if you're watching this on YouTube later, or if you're in the chat lurking right now, that's on there purely because of you, my friend.
You got to know your audience.
Yeah, got to know your audience, and Bweesh loves some Bionicle, and I definitely played that Game Boy Advance Bionicle game. And I thought the Age of Empires demo was kind of neat. It's kind of like seeing Civ show up like throughout history, and you see these games that you just don't even think about how old they are and where they might have started back in the day. Now we're going to move into some TV movies and just one little random fact in there. So TV shows, we go way back in time to 1961 when the Dick Van Dyke Show debuted on CBS TV. And then 6 years prior, in 1955, was the first episode of the Mickey Mouse Club on ABC TV. Movies that were released on October 3rd throughout time and space. 2014, we have two very different movies that premiered on the same day. Gone Girl with Ben Affleck, based on the thriller book that I super enjoyed. The movie was just okay. And Left Behind, which I believe is the Nick Cage Left Behind. And, you know, that's a movie and a series that exists. 2008, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, a wonderful movie. And then maybe the greatest movie ever made next to the Digimon movie. 2003, School of Rock. School of Rock with Jack Black, one of the best out there. And then
arguably one of the best.
Arguably one of the best. I think it's probably one of my favorite movies of all time. So good. Endlessly quotable. And then one random fact, 1955, Disneyland opened on October 3rd, which is younger than I expected. I don't know why that feels younger than I expected. Disneyland and Disney World just feels so like they've just existed forever.
Yeah.
Like they haven't, but they feel that way.
So as a fun fact, we just got back from Disneyland, and as part of that did a tour of Disney Studios, and we saw a bunch of Mickey Mouse Club merch and stuff like that, and photos and all of that in the studio. And so it was super cool to go and see a bit of the history of the studio, of Disneyland as a whole. Congratulations the company is having its 100th anniversary this year, and then Magic Kingdom and Disney World just had their 50th anniversary. So
super interesting. Yeah, I'm very curious now. I haven't ever asked the questions about theme parks, but now I want to know how old every theme park is. And so I don't know when I'm going to do all this research, but in North Carolina, we have one on the border called Carowinds that is one that I've grown up knowing for my entire life. And so now I want to know how old Carowinds is. I have no clue. I've never asked that question because who cares? Now I care. So I'm going to need to look that up and find out their exact age. But that has been at this point in nerd history. If you enjoyed any of these, or if you thought any of them were worth noting or curious about, do let us know. in the comments section. With that, we're going to move into, once again, a great segment, but definitely not the favorite. It is upcoming releases for the week. We're going to go over all of the TV movies, comics, and games coming out in the next week. We'll start with just one TV show. There's actually a couple, but for some reason, the site that I pull our resources from just has a prejudice against anime. And so it only gave me one anime, and it was Undead Unluck, which is on Hulu. Tokyo Revengers Season 3 is also happening somewhere, and I don't know where it is. So Tokyo Revengers is one of the best anime out there, coming out somewhere. Movies, starting on the 5th, we have Monster High 2 coming to Paramount Plus. I didn't know there was a Monster High 1. The Exorcist Believer. On the 6th, we have a movie called Cat Person. Freelance, Miranda's Victim, Pet Cemetery Bloodlines, Reptile, which is coming to Netflix. All the others have been movies in theater. The Burial. Then The Kane Mutiny Court Martial is coming to Paramount Plus. The Marsh King's Daughter, The Royal Hotel. Totally Killer is coming to Prime. VHS 85 is coming to Shudder. And When Evil Lurks is also coming to Shudder. And then on comics, we have today a comic coming out called Turtle Bread. I have no idea what that is, but the art for it was super cute. And I'm tempted to pick it up just because I was a big fan of that. And then coming out tomorrow, we have Gods, which is G.O.D.S. And then also Transformers is starting a new 2023 line coming up tomorrow. So before we get into games, did any of those catch your interest?
I'm going to be honest. I don't even know if any of those are real. Like,
and they may or may not be.
Like you could have legitimately made up 90% of those. I would not know. I'm very excited for the Transformers comic, just in the sense of it existing. I'm always excited to see IPs continue to reinvent themselves, and hearing about a new line of Transformers comics does get me interested. Probably not going to go buy it, but I am happy that it exists.
There are some good ones as far as if you're a horror fan. The Exorcist is a big deal. Pet Cemetery is a big deal. And then VHS is a pretty big deal. Totally Killer, I forget who it is in the lead. I think it's Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the new one, which is the daughter from Mad Men. I'm pretty sure it's her. And it's like a time travel murder thing. It's very interesting. And then Miranda's Victim is a true story about someone who was trafficked and then broke free and nobody believed her. The Kane Mutiny Court Martial is Kiefer Sutherland's latest movie. I don't know if you keep up with Kiefer, but that's his movie. And then The Marsh King's Daughter is Daisy Ridley. So it's her in a little indie production there. So that's just to give you a little bit of shaping on any of those, if any of those make you curious. With that, let's go into games.
So on the 3rd, we have Battle Shapers, Gehimnon, IRA, New World, Rise of the Angry Earth, Station to Station, Survivor Castaway Island, The Lamplighters League. Then on the 4th, we have A Tiny Sticker Tale, Dino Break, Folk Hero, The Fabulous Fear Factory, Thief Simulator 2, This Bed We Made, and Worldless. On the 5th, we have I Don't Exist, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Asterisk, and Obelisk Heroes, Dungeons of Eternity, Forza Motorsports Front Mission 2 Remake, Hidden Through Time 2 Myths and Magic, Knights vs. Giants, The Broken Excalibur, Stop Dead, The Bloodline, The Sisters 2 Road to Fame, Wargroove 2, and then on the 6th, we have Detective Pikachu, the latest physical card game expansion for Flesh and Blood, Bright Lights, Freaky Trip, NHL 24, Ontotis, Sword Art Online, Last Recollection, and Vostok 2061. Then in the world of DLC, we have High on Knife coming to High on Life today, the 3rd.
Lots of games. Any of those stand out for you either? Or are those just a bunch of words on a screen?
So October has some amazing games coming up. As I said at the top of the show, it is Spider-Man's month and we're just living in it. So I'm very much in the camp of I'm not buying any games. I'm not really doing anything until October 20th when Spider-Man drops. And then once that happens, we'll see. I'm very interested in Wargroove 2, Detective Pikachu Returns, as well, of course, of Assassin's Creed Mirage. But those are all things that are going to wait until post Spider-Man.
Yes. Yeah, there's some indies coming out that I can highlight. A Tiny Sticker Tale we played the demo of, and it was a real blast, especially if you like short games, easy indie games. The art style is super cute, and basically you manipulate the world with stickers. You can turn anyone into a sticker and put them into your little notebook and then drag them to other places and unlock things. It looked super fun. This Bed We Made is a new intrigue murder mystery in which you are a maid that witnesses a murder, and you have to figure out how to tell the person that you've seen this murder take place. So a super interesting storyline. I'm probably going to play it just because I love good murder mysteries. I Doesn't Exist is a new text-based adventure. So you have a screen and everything that you interact with is based off of the commands that you prompt it with. So kind of a little retro throwback there. Yep, you've already mentioned Wargroove 2. Wargroove 1 is phenomenal. I'm only more excited for the second one. And then only because Chris asked, as far as Sword Art Online Last Recollection, I have played the Sword Art Online games. They're all pretty great. They don't play like a VR game, so you're not going to really think that you're in the Sword Art Online world. But if you're into JRPGs, then you're probably super going to enjoy them. They're also more ARPG than JRPG in the sense that you are very much like in the action. If you like Xenoblade as a game, if you want to play a less good Xenoblade with characters that you know from Sword Art Online, then you should play that. It does have a dating sim element because they definitely want to lean into the like harem anime aspect of Kirito having all these different love interests, but we all know Asuna is the one and only. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. I think it's going to be Alicization. I'm not quite sure what universe it is set in, but I could weeb out about this for a while, and I have a feeling this is going in one ear and out the other of SAO world.
Yeah, as Perry said, all that I heard from that is less good Xenoblade, which is a game I haven't made time to play, so this is not something I'll be getting to anytime soon.
Yeah, if anything, if somebody was like, what should I start with? Should I watch the SAO anime or play the games? I'm going to be like, please go watch the anime because the games are fine. But what you're really getting out of the games is, we love these characters, and that's really the main reason to experience those. So yeah, lots of stuff in there. Let me know if you're planning on playing any of those games, if any of them grabbed your attention, or if you want to talk more about them. But as Cameron already said, this is Spider-Man's month, and we all know what we're building up to in the coming weeks. So we're going to have a lot of announcements coming up, and a lot of them are going to be real big. But with that, we're going to move into our Meme of the Week. It is our meme of the week. This week, our meme comes from Perry, and our meme is a story this time. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so we can actually read the story that was posted over in our memes channel. Perry said, I had a real hard time sleeping last night, so I struggled getting out of bed this morning. Normally, Christina will give me a hand getting up, but she didn't today, and I overslept by about 2 hours. Her apology to me just now, I just realized, hon, today is September 30th. I didn't wake you up when September ends. Which Perry said, I'm so mad, but also so proud. Now, as I understand it, I thought that Perry was the pun maker, which I guess that isn't necessarily a pun, but that's a fun little dynamic shift from what I understand Perry and Christina's relationship to be like. So very fun story time happening over in our Memes and Goofs channel. If you would like to be considered for Meme of the Week, then utilize our Memes and Goofs channel over in our Discord, and we would love to highlight yours in the next one. Yes. So with that, we're going to go into a quick time here just for another recap. So this is a shout out for you, Cameron plus Deanna, any of those things. Feel free to shout out one more time so everybody can know where to find you other than the Checkpoint Discord, which you also regularly frequent.
So my name is Cameron. You can find me as Humar Whittle around the internet. And then I do stream over on twitch.tv/Cameron plus Deanna. My wife and I play a lot of different games there. Just wrapped Final Fantasy. She's been playing a lot of Minecraft. And so doing some fun stuff over there. And then you can also find me on my podcast, First Geek 411 on twitch.tv/OneGeek411.
Love it. Thank you for the shout out there, Trombone, and for shouting out the Cameron plus Deanna channel. Super appreciate that. If you have the one for First Geek 411, do that as well so we can shout out that channel. Also, be sure to go and support all the wonderful things that they are doing over on the inner spaces. With that, can we get lots of chats in the clap? Because Cameron is here instead of watching Ahsoka right now, because I think we're 24 minutes into the episode.
We are indeed over. And so...
absolutely panicking right now. So we're gonna get this over with and out of the way. But we so appreciate you hanging out with us and sharing us with this show. And now we're gonna wrap this one up. This has been Twig, your weekly family-friendly news show delivered live on twitch.tv/checkpointchurchy week, keeping your family connected to the world of nerdy news. If you watched this far, then odds are you liked this one. Remember to give us a 5-star on your favorite podcast app. Click that like button and recommend the show to your favorite nerds. With that, we're gonna end this as we always do with our 3 things that we believe to be true about every single one of you out there, whether you believe in God, don't believe in God, go to church, don't go to church. We still believe these things to be true about you. Number 1, that God loves you. Number 2, we love you. We want community with you. Number 3, that you, yes, you matter. You are a person of sacred worth. The world is a better place. Why? Because you are in it. Folks, with that, until the next time that I see you, whether it be on our Twitch channel or right here, same time, same place, for the next episode of Twig.